They have flight kitchens all over India. And a brief history about flight kitchens is you will only have a flight kitchen wherever, sorry, you will only have a flight kitchen wherever there is an airport. If you don't have an airport, there is no use of having a flight kitchen in that particular city. All metros and a lot of other cities in India have got flight kitchens. Now, what does a flight kitchen do? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. What does a flight kitchen do? Flight kitchens are basically very, very big, huge kitchens. And the main thing in this unit is leaving out staff. Nobody else is allowed into the unit. You have a relation, you have emergency, nobody can come, you have to go out of the building because of aviation security rules. Nobody at all except staff is allowed to come into the unit. Now, what happens in a flight kitchen is they cater to different airlines. Now in India, we have quite a lot of domestic airlines. We have quite a lot of international airlines even. So the problem is when you fly for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, or if you fly international, it's around 8 hours to 10 hours, people definitely want something to eat on. Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay. Now talking about the food part of it, everybody when we go on flight, nowadays it's become very easy to fly.
निम्बूरे कैसे बोलते हैं? निम्बूरे.
Aircraft tickets are very cheap. So everybody is flying now and everybody wants to fly. And we basically fly because to save time. If you travel in train or bus, it takes you 2 or 3 days, but touching one corner of India to the other corner, it's maximum 3 to 3 hours, 15 minutes. You can reach any airport. So a lot of people are interested in flying now. And let's go down to careers, what you all can look out for being hotel management students. What can you look out for in a flight kitchen? Basically, the kitchen part of it, everything is there. You have bakery, you have tandoor, you have Indian, you have pantry. So, and then the other part is when you join a flight kitchen, a lot of people want to go on flight and see what happens. Now, when we fly, we just go into the aircraft, we put in a bag, baggage, suitcase, whatever you have, a trolley, onto the overhead bin. Now, as soon as you enter the aircraft, you will see a small little galley space in the front of the aircraft, as well as if you enter from the back of the aircraft, there is a very small galley space where the crew welcomes you, good morning, good afternoon, whatever they tell you. In that small space, you can store around almost 150 passenger food. So the food that goes into the aircraft is put into the aircraft before any passenger can get in. We have very specific timing. If you join a flight kitchen, the most important thing is time. Hello? When you join a flight kitchen, the most important thing is timing. Whatever you do, it's on a time schedule and you cannot even skip 1 minute extra. Hello? Okay. Yeah, I was saying when we join flight kitchen, timing is very important because the food has to be cooked on time. When we move to the aircraft to load the food onto the aircraft, everything depends on timing. You cannot even take half a minute or maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes. You get delayed, then you get a fine onto you. Because every time our aircraft is parked on the ground, the company is paying money to the government, to the airport. So in the flight kitchen business and in airline catering, as long as the aircraft is in air, it's making money. But if it's on ground, we are losing out money. Basically, the airline loses money as long as it's on ground. You have around 30-35 minutes ground time. That's when passengers come off the aircraft. The aircraft has to get cleaned. Catering, we reach the aircraft in a truck. I will explain to you what is. It's called a high lift. It's basically a truck where the full body lifts up. All the food is stored inside that. So, and we do 2 galleys if we have a Boeing aircraft. If you have jumbos, then it's 3 galleys and 4 galleys. 3 different places where you load food, or 4 different places where you load food. If you have a normal Boeing aircraft, which is generally used in India, a Boeing and an Airbus, depends on the models, but most of them have the front galley and the aft galley. It's only when you fly internationals, you have a galley in the center of the aircraft where meals are also put in there. Now, loading of meals in the forward galley is around, maximum you can take is 7 minutes. You cannot go over 7 minutes. If you go over 7 minutes, a delay comes on to catering. If the aircraft gets delayed, everything is documented, and then there is a fine on the caterer, whichever caterer. In India, generally it's Taj and Oberoi. There are small other caterers. Most of the catering units in India belong to Taj, if not to the Oberoi. Now, you do 7 minutes, you have time to load in the forward galley of the aircraft. Then you have 12 minutes to load in the aft galley. You cannot take more time than that. In this time, you have to, the high lift, what I was saying is, it's like a basic truck that you see on the road, but it's got hydraulics where the full body lifts up, because the aircraft door from where we cater, it's quite high. You don't put the food into the belly of the aircraft. The bottom of the aircraft is used only for cargo. The top in the forward galley as well as the aft galley, there is space to load enough of meals, juices, liquor, everything. Now that's the aircraft part of it. We have around 12 to 15 minutes to move away from the aircraft. Whoever's the caterer, he has 12 to 15 minutes to move away from the aircraft. So your job has to be done within 12 to 15 minutes. Different airlines, different caterers have a deal with them, and they allow this much of time. Because there are other departments which have to do, cargo has to go in, passengers have to board, cabin appearance, which is basically a sort of a housekeeping, what we call in the hotel industry. So that's called cabin appearance in the aviation industry, where they clean up the full aircraft. And once catering is done, only then passengers can go in. Passengers cannot go in before catering is done because of protocol. They have rules and regulations. Now that's the aircraft part of it. Now what I wanted to talk to you all about is your careers in flight kitchens. Flight kitchens are basically very, very big flight kitchens, big kitchens. Everything over here is whatever is cooked in bulk. It's not like 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 meals. Everything, the minimum output of every flight kitchen per day is around, you can say minimum will be around 5,000 plus meals per day. So whether you go into the bakery or you go into the hot kitchen, you go into Indian, you go into tandoor, any part, it's minimum 5,000 meals. 5,000 meals have to be put out into small casseroles. Everything is preset over there. I'll show you some photographs which I have of my previous job where I used to be. So you'll be able to understand how the casseroles and how the meals are fed. Now, when you go in bakery, everything starts on time. Flight kitchens, if anybody is interested in joining flight kitchens, timing is very, very important. You cannot come to the unit even 5 minutes late and give an excuse. It will not be accepted. You have to be on time because everything is scheduled. Because whoever comes into stores, purchase, first you buy raw material, that goes, it has to be washed, cleansed, sanitized, everything very well. Then it goes into the kitchen. Kitchen makes a requisition according to how many airlines. Now, in one flight kitchen, you will have at least 8 to 10 different airlines. Now, each airline has got a different set of menus for themselves. Menus are divided into breakfast, lunch, dinner, hot snacks, then light snacks. Light snacks is if you have a late night flight where you're given only light snacks, you don't given heavy meals. Now each airline puts in their set of menus. We go in for a meeting. We have a food log which is mentioned. The airline staff explains it to the head of the unit, chefs are brought in. Hopefully, a lot of you all will become chefs, kind of flight kitchen. It's generally the airline that gives the menu. Then you make it out. Everything is cooked, it's pre-plated, it's put into casserole, and then there is a photography session. Once the photography session is done, then we go into costing where damage takes place. Like if you have a meal, you have a rice, you have a dal, or you have a non-veg or a veg. Non-veg and veg is not mixed in one casserole. You either have a non-veg meal or you have a veg meal. Now, when meals are done, basically, flight kitchens produce meals in bulk. There's no a la carte or one or two or three meals being prepared. Everything is all above 5,000 casseroles. Minimum is 5,000 casseroles in a day. Now, while making meals, there are a lot of special meals which in the hotel industry, you'll hear of very few special meals, but in aviation, in the flight kitchens, there are lot of special meals. First thing is you come into baby meals. Okay. One more thing is in flight kitchen, all meals are halal. Now, halal is the way Muslims cook their meal. Whatever is cut, it has to go through the halal process. 90% of all flight kitchens follow halal process. If it is not done in that process, most of the Islamic countries and Middle Eastern countries, they will not accept food. Everything has to be cut in the halal process. So all flight kitchens all over the world follow the halal process. Now, when I was telling you about special meals, first is the baby. First key is the first most important thing is when you have a baby flying, a baby cannot have a normal meal, dal, rice, chicken, fish, or whatever, which is served on flight. So a baby meal is prepared separately. Then you have low calorie meals, you have low diabetic meals, you have bland meals, you have gluten-free meals, you have low sodium meals. This all is in a process where the airline informs the caterer where what we do in the kitchen is we just make out a small KOT. But for a flight kitchen, the airline sends you the load. They will tell you how many business class. The aircraft is divided into business class and economy class. It's like first class and second class. Every airline gives it a different name. Some people call it business class, somebody will call it first class, and the next is the economy class or the second class. So in business class, your seating arrangement is much better. There's more options of food. In economy, you have either a veg or a non-veg. But in business class, they give you liquor. Aircraft now liquor is banned, so there's no liquor served in any domestic aircraft. Only when you fly international, you get liquor. And meals is you have veg, non-veg option. You have different bread selections. You have different raita selections. So and different desserts. Now all this is prepared in the flight kitchen. So as I told you, when you pass out from the college, it depends whether you take up bakery, whether you take up Conti, or whether you take up Indian. All departments are there in the flight kitchen because everything is required. Every single thing is required. What happens in a resort or in a 5-star hotel kitchen, flight kitchens are around 10 times bigger than that. I'll just upload a small little photograph of the Taj flight kitchen in Calcutta. In Goa, since you all are from Goa, there is a flight kitchen in Goa even. It belongs to Taj again. And nobody from outside can go into a flight kitchen to see. Nobody is allowed because of security reasons and connecting directly to airport authorities. They don't allow any visitors into flight kitchen. If you have a problem, you have to leave office and go. Nobody from outside can come into the flight kitchen except staff. You have to carry an ID. Without the ID, you will not be allowed. Now coming into production, flight kitchens don't have small containers to cook. 90% of all equipment is all tilting pan. So whether you're making rice, whether you're making dal, whether you're making chicken, whether you're making fish, everything is all done in tilting pan. So another thing is chicken will not have bones. They will not, no flight kitchen meals on flight will go without bones. Fish is there. Fish even goes without bones. There are different reasons, because if you have a problem on the aircraft, you cannot do anything. If a bone gets stuck in your throat, you cannot do anything. You have to wait till the aircraft lands. So that's 2 hours, 3 hours. So if you're flying international, it's over 5 hours, 6 hours. So that is why on flight catering food, whether it's chicken, whether it's fish, whether it's mutton, there is no bones allowed. So everything has to be deboned and then one thing which is very important in flight kitchen, whenever you fly, there is a captain and a first officer inside the aircraft. Their food will not match anybody's food on the aircraft. Their food has to be totally different. What flight kitchens do generally is, for let's say X airline, they will take the airline food and give it for captains and the first officer. There is a reason, because if you have food poisoning in the aircraft, there are 2 or 3 washrooms. If you have food poisoning, the full aircraft passengers on board are messed. Captains cannot have those same meals, captain and a first officer. There are 2 pilots on board. Both of them have totally different meals. In case if one captain or the pilot or the first officer has a bad feeling or a stomach upset, one captain, one first officer or the pilot, it can be flown with one captain. So their food is generally made separate, totally different from the food that goes onto the aircraft for the passengers. Now, working in the kitchen, everything, as I said, is produced in bulk. Everything is produced in bulk. Then, as per grammage, once the food is produced, from boiling point, it has to go into freezing point immediately. You have 3 to 4 minutes to move it from boiling point to freezing point. Because at boiling point, there is no germs. At freezing point, there is no germs. And meals, all meals go onto the aircraft frozen. Meals are not, if it's warm, it's not accepted, because there are certain rules and procedures. You cannot make ready-made food and send it within half an hour, 20 minutes onto the aircraft. It has to be frozen. In flight kitchens, what we generally have a fridge in the house. In flight kitchens, they don't have fridges. They have something called holding rooms. These are big, huge steel rooms, which are between 2 to 3 degrees to -3, -4 degrees. So all the food is made, prepared, and stored here. Once the food is prepared from the kitchen, it's hot, boiling point. It's put into huge steel trays. Then it goes into a blast chiller. That is, you can say your household fridge, maybe around 2 times or 3 times that size. It goes inside, and immediately that temperature is around -6, -7, -8. So these meals that are prepared are put into steel trays in a trolley, and it's pushed into this blast chiller. Once it goes into the blast chiller, within 5 minutes, it's totally frozen. Once it's frozen, then it goes into these rooms that I was telling you. It's called holding rooms. There are a lot of holding rooms, which is segregated with veg and non-veg. We don't mix up veg and non-veg over here. So rice and dal and all is all okay with the vegetarian part. Anything non-veg is in a different holding room. So holding rooms are tagged and marked for veg and for non-veg. When you're preparing food even, there are different tables. After the food is prepared, when you take measurements according to the spoons, according to the grammage, what the airline has asked for, it may be around 80 grams of rice. Some people may ask for 90, some people will ask for 100 grams of rice. Now, in one casserole, you have to put in rice, you have to put in dal, and whatever vegetable. It totally depends on what the airline wants from the caterers. The caterers are there to make anything and everything that the airline specifies. Now, once the airline specifies, there are samples where the menu is given to the chef of the flight kitchen. He prepares everything. He calls for a meeting. There's photographs done. According to the photograph, then we go into grammage because of cost cutting. grammage has to be seen to. And then we have something where the food is tasted. Once the food is tasted and all the particular airline staff are okay with it, then the go ahead is done for the caterers. And then they start making, generally the menu is changed after around 5 months to 6 months. Every 5 months to 6 months, the menu is changed. So we don't have the same menu continuing for the whole year. And then it is on rotation basis. Generally 4 or 5 different menus are given. Like you can say 4 or 5 different breakfasts, 4 or 5 different menus for lunch, 4 or 5 different menus for dinner, and 4 or 5 different menus for late night light snacks. So that we keep changing this. On Monday you have one particular menu. Say rotation 1 you have on Monday. On Tuesday you have rotation 2. On Wednesday you have rotation 3. On Thursday you have rotation 4. Friday comes back again to the first rotation. So people generally who fly on Monday, and if you're flying back on Tuesday, you don't get the same food. If we are going to have the same food throughout every day, then there are people who fly in the morning and again come back in the evening to their hometown because of business reasons. People who fly for vacations 3 days, 4 days, so there is a chance that you don't get the same food flying with the same particular airline. So that is why there is a difference in the menu on every single day. It's generally 4 days or 5 days, then you come back to the same menu. Now, inside the kitchen, what we started using now because of the COVID, everybody is very hygiene conscious. You know, everybody wants to wash their hands. You got to put on gloves. You got to put on a mask. But this is always been there in flight kitchen. You cannot go into a flight kitchen without having a mask, without having a headgear where basically your hair is covered, because while cooking, if hair falls into the food and that goes to the passenger claims and there is a penalty put onto the airline, and the airline puts it onto the flight ticket, whichever the caterer is, whether it's Taj, Oberoi, or whoever for that matter. So we have to be covered very well when you're working in a flight kitchen. You have a net to put onto your head. Your hands are covered. You work with gloves. Your arms, till your arms is covered, and then you have on your normal uniform, because nobody is allowed without uniform for whatever reason. You have to be in uniform. You have to have your iCard displayed as long as you are in the campus. Now, from the kitchen, the meals go into the deep. From the deep, it goes into the holding room. From the holding room, then there is a place called where there are huge tables. Rooms are divided into veg and non-veg, and there the meals are segregated. The meals are segregated as in how much rice has to go, how much dal has to go, and then a veg or a non-veg. This is for basically the second class or the economy class. If it's a business class or first class passenger, everything is basically served to the guest like an a la carte menu. He asks for something and then it is served. But for an economy, it's just one casserole which is given. In business class, you have different breads, you have different salads, you have different sorts of yogurts, and then your main meal, whether it is veg or non-veg. Now, once the meals are taken out from the holding room, they should not go above 15 degrees temperature as per the aviation rules, as per flight kitchen rules. So, wherever the meals are being dished out into casseroles are there. Now, for business class or first class, it's generally ceramic. For economy, it is fiber or plastic. Now, this is food-grade plastic. You've got to remember this, because the food that is put into this is totally chilled. It goes onto the aircraft, which is still chilled. Temperature is taken. We have to monitor the temperature. If not, the airline doesn't allow it. If the temperature is above 15, 16 degrees, the food has to be very cold, basically chilled. Everything that goes onto the aircraft from the flight kitchen is chilled and cold. When it goes onto the aircraft, it's loaded. There are locations. If you work in a flight kitchen, you'll have to first study aircraft. Different aircraft have different types of oven cages. The oven is on the aircraft. We load the casseroles into the oven cage, which is an aluminum body. with around 8 racks or 9 racks. In each rack, depends on the size of the oven, either four casseroles will go in or 8 casseroles will go in, depends on the model of the aircraft and the model and type of the oven inside the aircraft. From the flight kitchen, we just take the meals in an oven cage. Then you have the tray setup. The tray setup again are melamine, which is reusable, which is washed. Once it goes onto the aircraft, on the tray setup, you have a cutlery set, which used to be of steel. After 9/11, steel is removed from aviation. Everything started with plastic because with steel, anybody could do anything inside the aircraft. So steel was removed from aviation all over the world after 9/11. But for the past 4 or 5 years, again, steel is coming, but for business class. For economy, it is still plastic. And airlines are trying to move into eco-friendly material, which is, there are wooden spoons that are coming. There are spoons and forks which are made out of pulses, which while you're eating, it's okay. The spoon still remains hard. Once you finish eating, you can eat up the spoon and fork even. So this concept is there in the flight kitchens. It's coming out slowly. But there are a lot of airlines now. Like I used to be with Jet Airways, let me tell you, for past 25 years. And Jet Airways used to be full service. So when you go on, you don't have to pay for it. Nowadays, there are a lot of concepts, there are a lot of airlines who are cost cutting, and what you have to buy your food. You buy your food when you're booking your ticket, or you buy your food when you go onto the aircraft. It's basically, it seems to be quite expensive, but that's another way of the airline doing cost cutting. So now we have steel cutlery. From steel cutlery, we move to plastic. From plastic, now we are moving on to, it's either wooden cutlery, which will be disposed of, or cutlery which is made out of cereals. It's fresh, it's purchased in bulk, and even you can even have a soup. You can have a steaming hot soup with that cutlery. It will last, and after that you can just bite it and eat it up like a biscuit. So that too is there, available, but you will not see this in the local market. It's only made for flight kitchens for aviation industry. Now once this is done, everything, the food that is prepared goes into the blast. From the blast, it goes into the holding room. Holding room temperatures are not, it will not go above 5 degrees. It's 5 and below 5 degrees. From there, the meals are taken out. It's preset into the casserole. It's covered with aluminum foil, and again, it's put back into the holding room. And then you have to wait for the time you have to leave to reach the aircraft. Generally, the high lift leaves the flight. High lift is, as I told you, it's a truck where the full body lifts up. It works on hydraulics. Only the driver's cabin is down and the full body lifts up. On hydraulics, it comes in line with the aircraft door, and then everything is loaded into the aircraft. Now, when we move from the kitchen area, from the holding room to the pre-setting is where all the casseroles are filled with the meals, covered, put it back. It's tagged according to the oven, according to the number of passengers on board, according to the number of veg passengers, non-veg passengers, any special meals, like I told you, baby meal, you have diabetic meal, you have peanut-free meal, you have non-lactose meal, you have low cholesterol meals. So there are a lot of different meals. Everything is passed to the airline it's passed from the airline to the caterer. So that is basically the KOT. What we use in normal star hotels or resorts or whatever. What is the KOT? That is sent from F&B into the kitchen. Now this KOT, they call it the meal order over there, is sent from the airline into the kitchen. Now what happens in every flight kitchen, there is an airline staff. So this airline staff, that department is called the catering department of the airline. So this department staff, either it's 1, 2, 3, depends on the size of the airline. This particular staff takes out the load for every different flight. Now, I used to be in Calcutta. I had around 55 departures in a day. So I had to scan 55 different flights, different sectors, take out the meals, take out every passenger's name according to what meal he wanted. And then this was put into a format and mailed to the caterer. The caterer accepts it and says, yes, okay, fine. This is done for, let's say, X, Y, Z flights. 4 flights going to Bombay, 4 flights going to Delhi, or going to Cochin, or going wherever. So this meal load is passed by the airline staff to the caterer. The caterer documents all this down. He sends it to the kitchen. Accordingly, every airline has got a different menu. No two airlines will have the same menu because they don't want to serve the same food which X airline is serving, and Y airline, they don't want to have the same food. So there is a big job in the flight kitchen for the chef on duty to segregate all this. Then there is also the problem is you should not mix up breakfast flight with lunch dinner flights or the late night flights where you have light refreshment, because the breakfast will obviously be a different meal. You cannot mix up that particular flight, let's say an early morning departure flight from Calcutta to Bombay. You cannot mix it up with the flight which is going in the afternoon or evening or late evening with the same menu. So the menu has to be very well sorted out. Breakfast is kept totally separate, lunch is kept separate, dinner is kept separate, and the late night, evening, light refreshment, light snacks is kept separate. Non-veg, veg meals are totally separated in the holding room. These two cannot go together. It has to be separated. Now, the people in the flight kitchen, the staff in the flight kitchen, they keep monitoring the aircraft 24 hours. Flight kitchens are open 24 hours. It's like what you say, emergency services, hospitals, and the railways. So it's open 24 hours. People work on shift, and full-fledged staff are there every single hour. So now you have to find out what time is the particular aircraft landing. From the time the aircraft lands into whichever airport, you have maximum 35 to 40 minutes for the aircraft to leave the airport again. No airline, no airport will allow you to stand for more than 40 minutes. Unless there is an emergency. There are emergencies sometimes. The fuel hoses can come in late. There can be a bird hit on the engine or on the cockpit or anywhere of the body. There can be engineering problems. For whatever reason, if there is a genuine reason, it's okay. But for us in the catering department, in the catering industry, there is just no excuse for us. The meals have to be ready. The high lift has to reach 10 to 15 minutes time onto the loading bay. The aircraft on inside the airport, you have the runway, and then you have all the bays. Wherever each parking lot in the aviation is called the bay, wherever each aircraft stands. So it depends, 50, 60, 70 bays there are. In Bombay, it's over 200. So whichever bay, you have to find out which aircraft you are supposed to attend to. Every aircraft has got a registration number. It's got registration alphabet. VT, you will find on every aircraft in India having VT. VT is the Indian code. After VT, then it's AB, or ABC or JBL or anything, but VT has to be there. VT is for India. And now, once the meals are ready, then there are other carts which you will see when you fly. You will see the crew bringing out these carts. These carts are made of material which you don't get anywhere. This particular material is used only for aviation because it's very strong and it's very light. Each cart, there are two different types of carts. There is one cart which is a bigger one, which is called a full cart, and there's another one which is called a half cart. Now, the half cart costing is around 1.5 to 2 lakhs per cart. So you can imagine how expensive it is, but it's very strong and nothing happens to this cart. Whenever you bang it against each other or from the flight kitchen, you got to load it into the truck, which is called the high lift. We call it a high lift. So while moving this, there's an aluminium ramp. You push it from the floor of the flight kitchen into the high lift. Depends on the size of the aircraft, the total amount of carts go into that. Now, while working in the flight kitchen, everybody studies different aircraft. It becomes a child's play. Within 2 to 3 months, you will get to know a Boeing will take in how many carts, what type of carts, Airbus will take in what type of cart, and everybody gets to know which oven and which cart will go into which airline, which aircraft, which particular aircraft. Even one particular airline, let's say Indigo, because Indigo is having the most number of aircraft, even one particular airline have an Airbus, it can also have a Boeing. The two different companies, they build totally different aircraft. But for Indigo, Indigo flies on the Airbus. They don't use Boeing. Other airlines like SpiceX or when Jet Airways used to be there, we had Boeing. Boeing had different models. So it's 300 series, 700 series, 800 series. So there's a lot of difference. But once you work in a flight kitchen, it becomes a child's play because you go on to the aircraft and you have study manuals, everything, how it's supposed to be loaded, how it's not supposed to be loaded. And everything has a particular place. Every single equipment has a particular place. You cannot put A equipment into location B or B equipment into location C. It will not fit. So you have to know the aircraft galley 100%. It's not very difficult. If you start going on to the aircraft, you learn that within 1.5 months. And coming back to the flight kitchen, once the meals are ready, then you have to take out the tray setup, because if you notice when you fly, nobody comes and gives you a casserole with a meal. They give you on the tray, you will have a bread bowl. If it's breakfast, bread rolls go for dinner. Even if it's lunch, dinner, you will have pickle. But if it's a breakfast flight, maybe you'll have butter and jam. And then the casserole, and you'll have a cut fruit. You'll have a small little bowl with different sorts of fruit cut and put into that. You can have that. But a lot of airlines are doing away with this because it's increasing cost, and everybody is interested in cost cutting nowadays. So once you get this tray, so these tray setups have to be taken out separately. Tray setups are taken and put into these carts, which I told you is it's called a half cart or a full cart. In each full cart, you will have, there are different types of trays. If you're using it for a breakfast, then there are the small trays. 56 trays will go into one cart. If you're using it for lunch and dinner, these are the 2/3 trays. There you will have 42 trays. So basically, in 3 carts, you can serve around 156 passengers. Everything is set very well. There is no chance of anything shaking or falling off. Now, once these tray setups are put into the cart, then the particular airline security checks this. He checks every single cart. He's supposed to be there on duty 24 hours to check what anybody is doing. Anybody can do anything. After 9/11, it's become very dangerous. Anybody can do anything to an aircraft. So there is security for every airline, for every flight. He has to check it and he has to seal it. There is a plastic seal. Metal seals used to be used, but now metal is banned because no metal can go onto the flight. So plastic seals are used. There's a door at the back and the front of the car, the half cart or the full cart. Half cart has only a front door, and the full cart has a front door and a back door, so you can open from both sides. You will see these carts on the aircraft when you fly, from where the crew takes out each particular tray or a meal or a casserole, and they serve you. Now the casseroles are put into ovens. Ovens are put into small little boxes where you cannot see when they bring it to you. You can only see the cart. But when you want a veg or a non-veg, they take it out from the box and they give it to you. They put your tray onto your table, and then the meal is there. Coming back to the flight kitchen, once everything is put into the high lift, the truck which goes to the aircraft, as I said, we call that the high lift. I mean, before it goes into the high lift, it's aligned just over there, where all these high lifts stand in line. That's called the loading bay. Now, once everything is aligned over there, then one particular security of the airline, whichever airline, there are a lot of airlines, and the caterers don't just cater for one airline, they cater for a lot of airlines. So once this is done, the security checks everything. He's got to seal it, and then the kitchen, the flight kitchen staff load this into the high lift. Then the high lift door is closed, and that is sealed. This seal cannot be broken. It will be only broken with the security standing in front of the aircraft. The particular airline, let's take in Indigo. Indigo security will be in the flight kitchen. He seals the high lift and it moves. there is generally a security has to sit in staff. They speak over walkie-talkies, which we used to use before, but now, these walkie-talkies are not used, everything is done on the mobile. So he informs the particular security who's on that particular aircraft. This is the serial number that I've sent it with. So the security in the flight kitchen informs the security on the ramp. The ramp is the base where the particular aircraft is standing. That once the high lift reaches the aircraft, there are a lot of rules. The security will scan you. He will check you if you're taking anything into the aircraft. Then the security will check the high lift door. The front at the high lift has a front door and a back door. Both the doors are sealed. Both the seal numbers are given to him. He will check it. If both the seal numbers are confirmed, okay, right, as what information he got, only then that aircraft can be aligned onto, the high lift can be aligned onto the aircraft. If anything doesn't match, the high lift has to be sent back. The security will not accept it. You cannot align that high lift on that particular aircraft. So rules are very strict. Timing is very strict. I told you, if any of you all plan to join a flight kitchen, whether you're going onto the flight as a flight supervisor, so nowadays we do have girls even, so there's a lot of options for girls even to join as a flight supervisor. And what people generally do is, once you join as a flight supervisor, you get to know the airline staff. Then there are a lot of boys and girls who jump in for flying. Now flying, either you can go as a purser or as an air hostess, and there is a lot of money, and you fly off to a lot of different places. And generally what people look out for, or you can say young boys and girls look out for, they fly domestic for 6 to 8 months, learn up the aircraft, and then everybody opts to go away abroad. You want to catch an international airline because then you get paid in dollars and the salary is crazy. It's beyond words, and your lifestyle totally changes, because if you become a cabin crew, whether you're a guy, it's called a purser. If you're a lady, then you're called air hostess. So the company pays for your pickup, your drop, your laundry, whichever country you fly to, your laundry is taken care of. You are put up in 5-star hotels, but there is flying time. Not every crew can fly every day. Once you become an air hostess or a purser, you fly for 6 hours, 8 hours. After that, you cannot enter the aircraft because of the pressure in the aircraft. Your mind doesn't work. So you have to be given rest for around 8 to 10 hours. Very rarely, unless there's an emergency or something, crew are taken. That too, they are taken if the aircraft flies and lands in a different airport which it was not supposed to land in because of whatever reason, bad weather or for whatever reason. So now once you load the security sector, he puts it into the high lift. The high lift is sealed, checked, gone onto the aircraft. As I said, 7 minutes is maximum you can take to load everything into the forward galley. From there, because there's not much of a place between two aircraft which are parked in the airport. So you have to be very, very careful. Aircraft parts there is nothing below 2 lakhs. Minimum costing of any small part of the aircraft is all in lakhs. So it's very dangerous when you're moving this truck. The drivers are trained. If 2 aircraft are parked together, there is very little space where he has to monitor how he has to turn the high lift and how he has to the aircraft. While going to the back of the aircraft, you will have the fuel bowser. Whether it's HP or anyone, Bharat Petroleum or anybody, they have to load in fuel into the aircraft. So there's 2 major sides of each other at the side of the aircraft, which is very dangerous. You have to be really an expert to drive these vehicles, if you will not be recruited. Then you load in the ark, and then you offload first, and then you load, because you have to offload, you have to empty out the aircraft. The catering location, the galley where we have all our equipment, The aircraft has come from somewhere else. Now you have to offload that. You have to load this back. Timing is very, very important. You cannot give any excuse. If you're given 7 minutes to load the power, you have to take 7 minutes. You cannot take 8 minutes or 9 minutes because it's monitored. And then there is a deduction from the airline to the caterer. So the caterer loses out on money over there. Coming back to the flight kitchen, let's go to, now this is how the meals are prepared. It goes into the blast, frozen, then it goes into the holding room. It comes out into the preset area. Meals are taken out. Meals, whatever rice, dal, chicken, fish, is taken out in bulk, set into casseroles, again put into the holding room. From the holding room, as and when you get your time, what time your aircraft is called, it's called ETA, expected time of arrival. And the general time is ETA and ETD, expected time of arrival and expected time of departure. This is there, which is fixed. We move according to the schedule. But there is always chances of the aircraft getting delayed for whatever reason. It may be coming in from the previous airport that is coming in for bad weather or thunderstorms or whatever. Maybe landing time, there's another 4-5 aircraft before that. So he's lost on his parking lot, he's lost on his parking timing. So in case the aircraft comes in late, but there's a standard procedure which we have, the ETA, expected time of arrival. Let's say the expected time of arrival of one particular aircraft is say 9 o'clock, which means you have to be in the airport on the ramp site where all the aircraft are parked at least 10 to 15 minutes beforehand. You cannot go into the airport on the ramp site after the aircraft lands because you will lose out on time. And no catering company wants to lose out on time, because if you lose on time, then you have to pay a fine. And it's very expensive to pay the fine. Because if you are going to delay yourself to load onto the aircraft is going to get delayed to depart. If an aircraft is supposed to depart at 11 o'clock, it's supposed to depart at 11. It cannot depart at 11:05. It cannot depart at 11:04. Because at 11:05, there is another airline, there is another aircraft who's wanting to use the runway. And at 11:10, there is another aircraft who's wanting to use the runway. So it's either 2 or 3 runways in every airport around India. So once that is over, coming back to the flight kitchen, there are a lot of departments in the flight kitchen. We start off from where we start receiving raw materials. Raw materials that the kitchen needs to cook. Now, in every flight kitchen, let's say if you have 8 to 10 to 12 to 15 airlines, so every airline has an office. Every airline has a storage area. Storage areas are very big. Very big means very big. If I was doing 52 departures in Calcutta per day, now let's pick up one particular item. Let's say I give a bottle of Pepsi. I've got to give in 12 bottles or 15 bottles of Pepsi per flight. I cannot keep 50, 60 bottles of Pepsi in my stores. It's all in hundreds and thousands. So if it's in those figures, you can imagine how big the stores are. And I'm talking about only one airline store. In every flight kitchen, there are minimum 6 to 7 different airlines. So flight kitchens are very huge. Flight kitchens are generally very close to the airport because everything has to move on time, as I said at the beginning. It has to be very close to the airport. There are rules where flight kitchens cannot be inside the tarmac, inside the airport. But there are certain countries, there are certain flight kitchens which are inside the tarmac. The reason is wherever you have food, you will get birds. You will get crows, you will get kites, you will get eagles. And these are bad for the aircraft because while landing and takeoff, there can be a bird hit. And a bird hit is a very, very serious issue in aviation. There is a lot of loss. One small little bird, as small as a crow, if it just touches the engine, now the engine has the blades that you see in the engine from the outside, these are all platinum, which are very expensive. With any birds being around, there are also staff who keep roaming next to the runway, airport staff with a gun. They keep monitoring for any birds because birds are basically not allowed, because if it's seen, it's either, you know, the gun is fired not to kill it, just to drive it away so that it flies away. Because if there's one bird touches one, just a small touch on the aircraft, it just rips open the full aircraft, because the aircraft is flying at a very high speed, whether it's landing or whether it's taking off. The speed is very high. When the aircraft moves out of the bay, before it goes onto the runway, nobody is supposed to be next to the aircraft, because when the engines come on, there is a thrust which backfires from the engine. And if you are there, and I have seen, believe me, it can lift up on full truck and throw the truck, a loaded truck, for around at least 30 to 40 meters away. I've seen this in the airport. I've seen it with my own eyes when an Airbus is on next to the runway, turning onto the runway, and the captain puts on the thrust of the engine. And by chance, if there is a high lift, you will find cars, you will find jeeps, you will find tractors on the runway. Tractors are basically used to move baggage because they have a lot of power in them. So this tractor can be from 10 to 15 to 20 meters away if it is next to the aircraft when the engine starts. On the aircraft, you will see a red light which is always flickering. Whether you see an aircraft in the sky or when it reaches the airport, if the red light is on, nobody, even the airline staff, nobody is allowed to go next to the aircraft, because it can pull you into the engine. It can suck you into the engine. The engines are so powerful. No staff, nobody can go next to the aircraft when the red light is on. If you see an aircraft flying anywhere in the sky, you will always see a red light burning on the belly of the aircraft. You cannot see the top. On the top even there is a red light which burns continuously. This is an indication stating that the aircraft engines are on, and when they land, when they come into the bay even, they still have this on. Until unless engines are not put off, then this light is put off. If this light is put off, it is only then when you are safe to go next to the aircraft. Now, flight kitchen, as I said, getting into stores. Now, the kitchen has their own stores. They have raw materials. Airline has their own stores. Every day there is a requisition made. Airline has to pass this amount of stores to the kitchen for them to make their stuff. Raw material, chicken, fish, whatever pulses, that's the headache of the kitchen, the flight kitchen. Now, once this is made, everything is loaded, it's there. Your hygiene is very important, very, very important. As I said, we have started using gloves now. Some people are using headgear, it's head net, but this was always there in a flight kitchen, and it was there for years. I mean, I was there past 25 years ago, and I used it 25 years ago. So gloves, protective gear has always been there in flight kitchens, which was not used outside. But now, because of COVID, everybody is wanting to use it. In flight kitchens, there is another thing is the people inside, the people involved in cooking. Insects is a major problem, and hair is a major problem. Any metal detected over there is a major problem, because there are no staple pins used in flight kitchens. It's a very important thing. Very funny though, when we work in an office, everybody wants to have a stapler in the office, because stapler is something which is very useful for everybody to file anything or to staple anything. There are no staplers inside a flight kitchen. You will get it maybe in the office, but not in the operation area. Nobody is allowed to carry a stapler anywhere in the operation area, anywhere in the kitchen, any kitchen, bakery, Indian, continental, tandoori, anything. There are no staple pins, staplers allowed, because there is a danger of a staple pin falling off and going into the food. Secondly, pest control. Pest control is another very important thing which is done continuously. Whenever there is a break in the flight kitchen, pest control takes place. Like when you come in, you have your breakfast, you start working. Lunchtime, when everybody goes out to the cafeteria to have lunch, there is 100% hygiene, a lot of precautions done, lot of precautions taken, because hygiene, food safety standards are very, very high in flight kitchens. And you cannot mess with it because there are cameras everywhere. You just cannot do anything. You have to sanitize. You have to wash your hands every hour, every half an hour. There are wash basins all over the unit. What we are doing now because of COVID, this was done in flight kitchen, you can say 20, 30 years ago even. There are wash basins everywhere in the unit. Everywhere you have to wash your hands if you touch anything. And it happened with me is when I joined the flight kitchen, and there's somebody from the lab who just came, got my hand and took my thumb impression and went away. And I didn't know what was happening because I joined, I was young that time, and I joined and I was wondering what was happening. And then I asked another colleague of me, and the colleague told me, you get ready because you want to get a big report on your name. I said, what did I do? He said, the lady who came and took your thumb impression, she's a microbiologist. She will go back to the lab and she will send the report to the operation manager, and then you're going to get fired. So you have to wash your hands continuously. You have to wash your hands with soap. Every door, every entrance in a flight kitchen is got a wind curtain. You have plastic doors or glass doors. So as you enter, there are sensors. There is a big thrust of wind coming out. So if you're carrying anything, make sure it blows everything back out of the unit. So insects, flies, any metal pieces, metal detectors. So all these are very dangerous things inside the flight kitchen. You cannot have any foreign objects inside a meal, because if you have it, a passenger is going to eat it. There's going to be a problem with the passenger on the flight. The passenger is going to sue the airline. The airline is going to sue the aircraft. So that is about the flight kitchen. I mean, would anybody like to ask me anything? I'm ready for any open questions. Hello? Okay. Huh? Anybody online who would like to ask me anything about the flight kitchen? Regarding your career, there's a lot of scope in flight kitchen. Chefs have beautiful jobs. Everybody is in uniform, and your grooming is crazy. You have to be perfect. You will not be allowed if your grooming is not 100%. There are very, very strict rules inside flight kitchen. You will be checked at the gate. You cannot carry anything into the flight kitchen. You cannot carry anything out of the flight kitchen. Everything that leaves the unit has to be documented. Security is very strict over there. As I said in the beginning, nobody from outside is allowed into any flight kitchen. So with that, should I call it off? Okay. I'm ending it then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.